After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Chords After Hours podcast, we discuss the Fort Smith, Arkansas band known as Eso-Charis. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurviveByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta. Army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Chords After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener to the History of the Chords podcast, Erik. How's it going, Erik?
Pretty good, pretty good. In the
Really
summer of
good, man.
podcasting, lots of fun here.
We're in the summer of podcasting. Oh, man. I hear, Erik, I've heard through the grapevine that you brought a little band to put in the spotlight today, eh? Is that true?
I did.
Who is it?
It's a band I've talked about ad nauseum because I like this band. I got to see them in concert one time. If they come back anywhere near town, I'll see them again.
And the lead vocalist booped you on the nose, man. Don't forget that one.
That she did. That she did. But it is a band called The Anchor.
Yes.
So they are kind of your female-led metalcore type substances. I quite like it. It's different from your typical metalcore because it's not as growly and bitey when singing. She actually has that, effeminate voice that can really sing and really put it out there. But she can also mix in, what do you want to call it? Like her emotional songs in there too. There's a couple that are almost like acoustics, but they're very emotional. And she's like, it just sounds like she's borderline about to break up and cry right there in the middle of the song. So it's a little bit different from your typical metalcore.
Right. I want to add to what you're talking about with your typical metalcore. The other thing too that I notice is it's not overproduced.
That's probably one reason I like it. And it's not a whole, there's a little bit here and there. Seeing them in concert, they'd go and hit a button on this
And that's
MacBook
fine.
here.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean more just like
The
on
big
the
one for that
albums.
was, right. I think the big one for that was Let Down, the song. There's this little intro part where it sounds like the whole group got together as a kind of a chorus. And just did this little bit. And it'd be hard to do that live. So
I don't know. They should just get you up there, buddy.
But according to the T-shirt, which I got at the concert, see here.
Nice.
According to that, it says they're from Denver, Colorado, since 2012. I can read.
That's okay. So let's talk about that real quick. 2012, really? 2012? I didn't realize it was that far back. What do we have here? Never mind. I'm going to shut up because I was thinking of a different band. Never mind. Because they do have full length albums. I, for some reason, was thinking they didn't have full lengths, but I knew they did. I'm listening to one right now, you moron. Oh my gosh.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I was thinking of somebody else. I will say though, this is an interesting one. 2 episodes ago, we talked about a band called Like Roses, and they have 70, I think the last we looked was like 71,000 monthly listeners. And they've been around since what? Pretty recent, right? 18, maybe?
I think
was
17,
17,
18 when I
18.
started finding stuff coming from them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Anchor's been around since, like you said, 2012, and they only have 57,000. What the heck, people? What are we doing? We gotta get this band more listens. That's why they're here on this podcast. That's why they're in Eric's spotlight to get you people to step up and do the
Spotlight.
freaking thing you're supposed to be doing every freaking day. Yeah, no. Yeah, carry on. My rant's over.
So they are a 5-piece, 5 whole pieces. Um, they do have 2 full-length albums and lots of EPs and lots of covers. I'll talk about that in a minute too here. They are currently on Manic Cat Records with
Wow.
everyone else you've never heard of.
Sounds right. Sounds about right.
The only one I had heard of that it was actually there with them on tour. So I was like, okay, well,
Who was
they're a
it?
pretty small production company. Along Came a Spider.
Ah,
That's the only other one I
yes.
knew from their list.
Okay.
So I did find this one by a cover of The Guillotine. I was on this Lauren Babick kick, and I was finding other artists that she had worked with, and The Anchor is one of them. And I was like, huh, I could go for that. That's an interesting sound. So then I found the Metal Kitchen series that she put out with a song called Rip and Tear, which is the Doom music from the video game.
Nice.
That heavy hitting hard rock, but it's a song about pulled pork.
Delicious.
And no, I'm not even kidding. It's the
Are
first
you
time I listened to it, I was
kidding?
like, this song's really heavy. Is this song really about ripping and tearing people and things apart? Like, wow. Then I got to looking at the lyric or listening closer and looking at the lyrics. I was like, oh, this is literally about pulled pork. Get a bowl and spices, cumin, paprika, coriander in a bowl together. That's like the first lyrics that she's screaming. Not even kidding. It's wonderful.
We're making cooking fun. Yeah, I have no clue who any of
It
these
was
people
fun.
are.
And she does have yeah, on the record
Yeah.
label.
I was thinking maybe I'd
So
recognize at least one name, but no. I mean, besides, I've heard you
the
talk
only
about
two
Along
I
Came a
knew are the ones
Spider,
that
and
I
then
seen. Yep, those are the only two I knew at all.
hmm.
So I did get to see them, as I mentioned before, and I will mention again and again, back in 2023. And it was a great show. Pretty small turnout, unfortunately, but that made it more fun for us, the ones that were there. We had a SpongeBob pit where we did the floppy arms from the talent show where Squidward did the interpretive dance. There you go. So she jumped down and ran around leading that part of the pit. And then she was getting really into the song that we were in the middle of. I started doing a circle pit, and she was leading the circle charge. Around and around they went. And at some point, they started doing the flying eagle arms,
Nice. We're
like all
Eagles.
10 of the guys following around.
Oh, man.
I got, like you mentioned there before, she was like, patting people on the head and scruffing up this one guy's hair, comes up to me, pokes me on the nose. I was like,
Bonk.
this band just wants to have fun. And it's so much fun watching a band that wants to have fun like that.
And he has never
On top of
washed
the
his
fact they have
nose
really,
since.
it's disgusting. It's wonderful. But
There's fungus growing off of it, man. Mushrooms and such. Yeah.
but yeah, it's a lot of fun watching a band that likes to have fun on stage and then
Yes.
enjoys what they're doing.
We,
And it
yeah.
really comes through in their music too. Even though some of their sadder songs, whether happy, whether sad, whether whatever, they put their emotion into these songs. So I enjoy that a lot.
How many times have we talked about it, Eric, where you got to have the best of both worlds? You got to have a good record, got to put out good music, right? That's one thing. Got to do your thing in the studio. But once you're done with that, you have to bring it to the live crowd, right? You have to have that interaction. You got to be loose. Got to be loosey goosey, man. Got to be loosey goosey. You got to have fun. Got to interact with the crowd and have a presence. You don't have to just stand up there and just, you're not, dude, this isn't the band at Chuck E. Cheese, the robot band, we're not just up there.
You mean
We're not.
Devil
No,
Wears Prada?
no. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not there for that, man. We're here to have fun. We're here to, get together, whatever. And I enjoy that. I mean, from some of the music videos of like live stuff and such, yeah, I get what you're saying, and I enjoy the fact that they don't take themselves too seriously. They're not Greg Owens. I bet you could come up to them in the grocery store and say something to them, they wouldn't give you crap.
Right.
Yeah.
I did get to talk
So
to. She was on stage still. I talked to most of the guys. The one guitarist, I think, the bassist, if I remember correctly. I was just sitting there talking to him, just shooting the bull at the merch table. I
yeah,
mean, just really cool guys. Like I said,
gotta
she was
love it,
still dealing
man.
with fans on the stage and everything. I was just over there like, hey, give me
Still
a t-shirt,
booping
would you? Give me a
everybody
t-shirt.
and
Oh,
give
I'm
me a
sure, yeah.
t-shirt. I'll trade you my shoe. Yeah. Cool, man. Well,
That's
alrighty.
Aether
That's
Realm.
the
That's a different
gotcha.
one.
That's the band known as the Anchor. I have a goal. I have a goal for us, Eric. I have a goal for the people listening. They are currently at the beginning of this episode. They're at 57,290 listeners on Spotify. Get that number up. 70, is that too much to ask for by the end of the year? 70,000, 80,000, maybe a million, a
Those are
billion.
rookie numbers. You got to
Yeah.
pump those up.
Yeah, pump those things up, man. This band been around too long and deserves better. You know who also deserves a listen, Eric? This band that we're about to talk
Who's
about
that,
right now.
Curtis?
A little,
Oh
little
boy, who's
band,
that?
a little band known as Eso-Charis. How were you introduced to Eso-Charis, Eric?
I think y'all mentioned them on the first episode of
Oh,
History of the Cores
the,
podcast.
the
You know,
OG, baby.
the OG of the
OG.
OG,
Yeah.
the Norma Jean one. Way back there.
Hey, back when. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, listening to their very brief discography, how would you describe S.O. Karis to a new listener?
Quite raw. I mean, pretty raw.
Oh, yeah.
As far as description, I'll probably stick with the word hardcore for overall sound.
Okay.
Some bits of metalcore, but it's still kind of early in that aspect as far as time and just where everything was in the world. They're definitely unapologetically Christian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are
Mm-hmm.
some odd little guitar licks that are through there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And
kind
some
of
of that
here
kind of
for it.
like, yeah, some kind of like math rock kind of core stuff to it, some tones there.
Right. Yeah, and I'm here for it. I kind of enjoy that. That was
Yeah.
about that era too. You were starting to get all those little math corey things kind of incorporated into stuff,
I always
which
liked
then
the
turned into technical stuff. But anyway,
right. I always enjoyed the there's always kind of there's like this little bouncing groove to their music, kind of makes you just want to sit here and just kind of I don't know what it is about
yeah,
some of that early like late 90s 2000s music at times. They're just kind of like this is kind of, yeah, I can kind of bop to this.
yeah,
But
like Britney Spears, that song "Toxic." That's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, no, totally different thing. Um
Speaking of
uh
covers, Lauren Babick has a cover that's pretty good. Just in case you wanted to know.
just in case, go type that in on your URL real quick. But come back to this, okay? And then when we're
Yeah.
done here, you can go back to that. Um, have you watched? They've got several sets on YouTube. Have you watched any of their live stuff before?
I have not on them. No.
Yeah, you might go check that out. It's interesting to see like the way that they set up, and we'll kind of talk about some member stuff here in just a little bit and whatnot. But the thing that always stuck out to me was the two vocalists, a lot of times they would both be playing guitar sometimes and doing vocals, like dueling, and they would have it where the microphones were looking at each other, and then like the audience is, to like their left or their right or whatever, and then like the drummer's back here. So it's like you're kind of doing this like face off thing. So I always thought that was pretty cool. But all right, got a trivia question here. I've actually got two on this episode for you, Eric. Here we go. Don't fade away into the bushes there, Homer. All right. Here's your first question. What was the band's original name before changing it to Eso-Charis?
It was like, wow, it was somebody's like just normal name, wasn't it?
You got it.
Like,
You got it. You're on it.
I forget it. Chad
Uh,
or something. I can't remember exactly
oh
what it was.
man,
Man.
dude. Why would you ever change your name to Eso-Charis, man? Chad is a brilliant name, man. A brilliant name. No, it was Elliot.
Elliot. Okay. There was
Yeah.
something short and sweet. And I was like, some dude named Elliot's going to play. What's that? Yeah.
Wait, why are there like
Yeah.
five guys up here? I thought there was just one dude named Elliot. Yeah. No, I like
Are they all Elliot?
I like their new name better for sure. So glad they changed it.
Definitely.
Now technically we only get two albums out of this band, a full length and a follow-up EP. There is a debut EP before the full length, and it's entitled The Plateau Green. But it's like I said in the original episode, good luck finding it. I've scoured the internet, YouTube, so on and so forth. Cannot find it. So, but we're going to talk about their full length in the later EP. Their debut self-titled album was originally released independently and produced by Living Sacrifice frontman Bruce Fitzhugh, later being picked up by Solid State Records and remastered by Barry Pointner, who has done work on early Zayo albums. Give us your thoughts. I'm going to slow down here so you can drink that. Give us your thoughts on their one and only full length album, Eric.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I was looking. The best I could figure is I probably have that remastered version. Or I don't physically have a copy, but I heard the remastered version.
Yeah,
anyway.
I meant to say that
I don't think I could really find the original anywhere. I mean, I wasn't.
Oh, because you're not finding it
scouring
on.
YouTube. I'm
Oh,
sure
I
you
was
could
going to
find it.
say. I best say I think Josh said on the original episode he was listening to it and he was like, "This is really raw," and I was like, "Oh no,
Okay.
that's the original." And yeah, the Spotify version should be the solid state version of it where they remastered for
Which
sure.
I'm pretty sure it is. I think it says 2003, which would be the remastered.
Okay, then
date,
yeah,
right?
that'd be right. Then yep, yeah, that would be right. Which is
So
funny because
that
it's
clears
like
that up.
that's after they've already broke up, so it's like, what are we doing?
It's kind of
Cash
weird. But
grab. Yeah.
I don't know how much cash they're grabbing there, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely not bad. It is that early hardcore metalcore kind of transitional sound. Definitely of the time. The breaks in the guitars where they play something that's almost acoustic-y sounding
Mhm.
do take me out of the record just a little bit.
Okay.
But again, we're really picking at it at this point. But that's really splitting hairs. So lyrics are a bit on the nose, but it is a first album that happens quite a bit on the first album.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it too on the nose for you?
For the 80% of the time, probably so.
Okay.
There are some good moments in there that I'm going, hey, I think I get that from over here and this from over here. Like when
Right.
you're drawing connections like between songs and different things, different stuff you're referencing. Yeah, I'm here for it. But
Okay.
when you're so on the nose that it's like,
Yeah.
stop
It'd
It's
be
too on
nice
the
to
nose.
have like a little discretion, a little kind of mystery to it. Let me do some
Right.
thinking here. Let me do some work. I don't want it spoon fed to me.
Right. Which it does feel a little bit spoon fed some of the times, but there are some of those cool connections. I think I have one later in the episode written down here for you.
Okay, cool.
But let's see. As a freshman album, though, it does show promise, and those fellas surely had some talent. So it doesn't surprise me that most of them went off and had careers elsewhere in good bands that some are still rolling out music, tomorrow maybe.
Some that we'll actually be seeing in concert sooner or later.
Oh boy.
Yeah. They've one of the things I always was interested in was some of the tones, guitar tones and such. And I said this to Josh in the original episode. There's the one that always comes to my mind is on the first track, Born with the Future, when the music's starting to try to like kind of ramp up at the very beginning. And there's that one like guitar riff that's kind of coming in. And well, it's not really a riff, but it's just picking some notes. And it's the guy kind of fading in. He's going doo 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 doo. I don't know why, but some of those tones, well, that one and then the next song, I can't remember what the next song's called, but it's a little more slowed down and it's kind of got like a little bit of unsettling vibes to it, a little musically. And those always made me think of uh Primus, like the bass sounds that he would make, like, and it always make me think of Tony Hawk Pro Skater back in the day too, but that and it's just kind of like some of the tones that he's got going there remind me of that. But yeah, is this album artwork unsettling to you, Eric?
It is a bit
Porcelain
odd.
doll.
Yeah.
It was always kind of like it's kind of weird. And this would be the remastered one too, because the original I think is just like a red version or something, or not red version of this, but just like a red background and then like their name or something like that. But let's talk
Very
about
raw,
their
very original.
yes, let's talk about their EP, Setting Roots for Winter EP, or if you're Josh, a sampler, because that's what he referred to it. Yeah, Setting Roots for Winter EP would unknowingly become the band's final release, only found on YouTube. The 2-song EP or sampler features was meant to feature the preview of the band. Josh was pretty disappointed in the quality of the release. And to be honest with you, dude, I personally didn't mind it. The more I listened to it, I think it's really not that bad. I mean, he complained that it felt like just a garbled mesh and he couldn't hear a lot of different like instruments and such. And I kind of got that first, but like the more I listened to it with that in mind, I was like, man, I feel like I can hear more than like I feel like he's leading me to believe, you know. I mean, not would personally like it if they had a version that would maybe like re-release it and kind of like clean it up a little better. That'd be nice. But not much. I mean, I still want that kind of rawness, you know, for early 2000s. But what are your thoughts on the final release from Eso-Charis?
Well, I did want to argue with Josh just a little bit about calling it an EP or not. The
Oh,
classical definition of an EP is extended play. So if you have a single, then you have an extended play, then you have the LP, which is long play. Now, I do prefer to have, say, 3 songs before I really call it an EP, but technically I think it's an EP if it's more than one song.
I think in his
Anyway.
eyes, you just destroyed your own argument, though, buddy. By saying 3 songs, though, he's like, I can already hear him. He's like, yeah, but you just said 3 songs.
That's me personally. But technically, if it's more than one song, I think it's technically an EP.
Okay.
That's just me wanting to argue.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah.
As far as recording quality, it has all the elements of a tin can being kicked down the road. If you can overlook the vocal mic being inside a ravioli can, and then the other one peeking and popping across the room, it does have elements of what they had before.
What the heck description was that, Chef Boyardee?
You're welcome, because that's what I was hearing. It is a messy thing going on. It's really hard to tell if it's different enough from the full length to be, say, growth or anything like that. Like you said, I really wish they would clean it up just a little bit, because I was hearing, like I said, peaks and pops on those mics, which that's early production. We could grab those and take those out typically. And it's really, really rough and raw.
Okay. Well, I like
I said, I do hear elements of what was before.
Yeah. No,
my problem is it feels like you put the microphone in a tin can.
Yeah,
that was my issue with it. And it's kind of like we've talked about cupping before,
Right.
and I'm just not the biggest fan of artificially reverberating your voice, whether it be through a tin can or cupping the microphone like that. Either
It
way,
is
it just
safe.
doesn't 100% do it for me.
Yeah, it is safe to say that Oh God, the Aftermath is not his favorite Norma Jean album. Plenty of cupping on that on that album there. Yeah.
But you see what he did? He grew. He
He
went forward. He
grew.
grew.
He's a man. He's a man. Okay, let's talk about this member lineup here. Okay. In an interview years after the breakup, frontman Corey Putman would confirm that just before the end, the band consisted of, let's count them, Eric, two vocalists, four guitarists. I had to think for a second there. Two bassists and two drummers. Now, you could probably take two of the guitarists you could probably take out because two of them would be the two vocalists also. So I'm going to take two of those guys out. You're still talking about 8 to 10 members here. Okay. 8 to 10 different instruments going on. What are we doing? In your opinion, Eric, how many members is, at least in a band in this genre, is too many members?
That's actually exactly what I put is outside of a band that's not an orchestra or orchestral of some sort, like a Chicago or something like that, where you
Yeah.
have the horns and you have the strings going on with the band playing a guitar and a drum set. Outside of that, 10's way too many. Generally speaking, just too many.
Yeah. I think
I could probably go for like one drummer, one bass. Now, maybe one keys guy. See, 3 so far. Max 3 guitars, but if we're going to have 3 guitars, we probably need to drop the keys because we're doing something different.
Yeah.
You have keys. Keys are for your ambient textures, for your sounds in the background a lot of times. Maybe a little bit more forefront in some songs than others, but if you've got 3 guitars, you don't have backspace. Those guys are wall of sound.
Mm-hmm.
So, one for the other. You either have 2 guitarists and a keys guy or 3 guitarists, forget the keys guy. So I would say 1 to 2 vocalists max. And honestly, probably one full time. The other one is on a guitar or the bass or keys or something, right?
Backing, yeah.
So that puts my number at like 6 to 7 max. 8 to 10 is just too many.
Too many. You're not playing small clubs, that's for sure, man. There's no room. We're all just
no.
Can you give me an inch? Can you give me an inch, buddy? Come on.
Guitar.
Hey, your guitar is in my face. Yeah, that's just ridiculous, man. I always think of this kind of a callback to the Touche Amore episode. When they did a split, I think it was one of their last ones that they've done with the band Self Defense Family. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Go look it up. Go look them up on Wikipedia. Ridiculous. Flat out ridiculous, man. Speaking of Touche Amore, I forgot to bring this up at the beginning of the episode, but now is a good time since I mentioned them. They are putting out a new album in October. It is going to be called Spiral in a Straight Line from Rise Records. October 11th, they put out a new single. When we recorded this, it was probably about a week or two ago. There may be more singles out by now. It was entitled Nobody. I'm going to give you, it's funny because we said this on 2 episodes ago, but I'm going to give you my review for this song. Meh. I don't, when Stage 4 came out, and we talked about it with Touche Amore, Stage 4 is just like so draining, period. But musically, the style vocally and musically that they started going towards with Stage 4 really started losing me, and it became even more apparent on Lament. And now with this single coming out for this new album, I'm like, I really feel like we're just continuing that way, and I'm just not on board with it, man. I miss the days when Touche was, Parting the Sea and, Dead Horse and Is Survived by Man. Those were some good days. Those were some good days. But anyway, well, I mentioned that because it's a band we've already covered. When that album comes out, we'll give our full review on it on this podcast and on the Pop Pop podcast, also the history of the course. So be on the lookout for that one. All right, one final trivia question here for you, Eric, before we get to your favorites. In the aftermath of this band, oh, excuse me, let me start over. In the aftermath of this band's breakup, two great bands would be born, quote unquote born. I say that lightly because one of them was already around. We have Norma Jean, the Corey Putman era, and what other band?
Golly, you would ask that one.
Come on, buddy, you got this one.
I know Norma Jean for sure. Golly, it just slipped
not,
right out.
Yeah, they're not still around anymore. They had one full-length album.
So it's not Symphony in Peril.
No.
Definitely not. Certainly not.
Nope.
Oh, Fooey. It's not Fooey?
No.
How about Fubar? Not Fubar either?
No. It's the Handshake Murders.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Alrighty. It
How'd
is
I forget those
time.
guys?
Exactly. It's time for your favorites, Eric. I'm gonna guess that if you had to, pick a favorite album, it's gonna be their self-titled, right? So we'll skip right over that.
Well, I literally wrote the word only one, so
That's true. Yeah. And only
You got
one
it.
full-length album, right? So
good
all right,
guess.
so let's talk about lyrics, songs, riffs, artwork, so on and so forth.
So this is one of the gems amongst their lyrics, in my opinion. Like I said earlier, a lot of them are kind of on the nose, but this one's a little bit more in-depth, think about it kind of thing. A lot of little things they're weaving into it. So this one is from the Judas Swing. I am the adulterous bride, the land that's been parched, and pastures are withered. I am the desert. I am the desert barren. My head a spring of water, my eyes a fountain of tears. For slain of myself, I've made a friend with the world, and I made my God my enemy. That's a lot of flowery language and a lot of different things we're talking about going on. It's definitely painting pictures.
Right.
And that's more what I like with lyrics rather than a lot of their stuff's very on the nose. You're a bad boy and you should be better at it. It's not quite that bad, but I mean, you're getting my point here.
Yes.
They're a little on the nose with a lot of their lyrics.
Yeah.
This one's a little more poetic and I enjoyed that. So, are you ready for the favorite songs?
Yeah, we're going with three of them.
Top three. Yep, let's hit it.
Okay. Number 3.
Once Upon a Fashionable.
Okay, yeah.
It's got some memorable lyrics, or not so much lyrics, but the sounds that are going on. The guitar, the instrumental section is really what got me there. Yep, you're listening to it right now, aren't you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2.
I
went with Spirit of Revival.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Can't go wrong with that one either, man. There's also one of their sets. It's from Furnace Fest 2002. They start out, I think, with Spirit Revival, and it's Corey and Handshake Murders guy. I can't remember who his name is, and then Josh Goggins doing vocals with them too. There, so that's pretty cool. You need to go check out that one. Yeah. Number 1.
Born with a Future.
Oh man, The way he comes in with
hard to
that.
get better.
Oh man. That's so good. So good.
Yeah, it is pretty good stuff. I enjoy it all. Like, none of this is bad. It is very of the era, but I do quite enjoy, sometimes going back to that era. That's what I like. Look at him. Look at that enjoyment. He's doing the Squidward. Woo!
The Squidward always works. Actually, I don't know what they call it, but I always like to do with doing songs of like, it always works with everything. Especially when we're doing handshake murders. That's when I first started doing that. I was like, dang, this works with every song out there, man. Oh man. Yeah. If you're listening on podcast, you can't see it. You have to go to YouTube. It's your problem, not mine. Alrighty. That was number one, right? Born with the Future.
That was number one, Born with a Future.
Nice. Final thoughts on the band known as Eso-Charis.
Definitely not a bad collection of artists. In retrospect, I'm kind of glad that they broke up and did their own things, because we do get Norma Jean and we do get the Handshake Murders, which is both well worth listening to as well. If you're under that rock, go find them both. Listen to them. So, yeah. Also listen to these guys, because that's the past is the future. You have to understand where you've been to see where you're going.
Right. We get Norma Jean leveled up. I mean, let's not disregard the Scoggin days of Norma Jean, because he built the foundation. Corey took him to new heights, man, for sure. That's why I was always like, two bands born, because it's like Norma Jean's already around, right? Man. But yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, let's get on out of here. Oh, yeah. The other thing I was going to say too was we talked about it several times before. Bands have their place in the history. Not all bands are meant to last. Some bands are meant to be stepping stones for greater things. Yes. I'm inspired. I just inspired myself.
This is one of those.
This is one of those bands. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. Not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Cores podcast, where me and Josh take a band from the core genre and we look at their history, their discography, their member changes, sometimes endless numbers of member changes. And we also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders. And we also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which has covered all 2 seasons of HBO's House of the Dragon. And currently we are starting to prepare for next summer's new HBO show, Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. So be on the lookout for more episodes from that podcast. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived By Productions. That'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel. Hey, thumbs up the video. Alrighty. Till the next episode, where we're talking about the band known as Here I Come Falling. We'll see ya.